Hello stranger, can you tell us where you've been? More importantly, however did you come to be here? Though a stranger, you can rest here for a while, but save your energy, your journey here is far from over. Come the sunrise, we'll descend through Judgment Valley and weigh our worth before Her Majesty, the Verde River.
I come here in October of 1979. My wife, she wanted to go in the mountains, and I was wondering where we were going to spend the winter. Both of us were homeless. So I brought my girlfriend up here, and I was just wanting to see how she felt about the place. It was so beautiful, the panorama of the mountains and the lake, and she was just totally amazed by the place.
No direction but to follow what you know. No direction but a faith in her decision. No direction but to never fight her flow. No direction but to trust the final destination. You're a stranger till she whispers you can stay. You're a stranger till she whispers that your journey's over.
Back in 1979, it was my home. I traveled from place to place, and I carried everything I owned in it, and I had my canoe on top. My wife had a lot of books, and I had a few, and over the years it accumulated a lot more books, and now it's known as a library. So, yeah, I didn't realize back then, but that was his last voyage when I come up here. You know, when I hit my mid-40s, I decided, this work that I'm doing is totally meaningless to me, going out there and putting 3 bags on and making a bunch of money. And any amount of it, I got so that this is just playing figures for the government, If you go and work in a automobile factory and you put 4 bolts in a radiator and that's all you know how to do, you're dependent on being in a certain way with your superiors, otherwise you lose your job. When I started growing food, I come to realize that this is really important to feed my family and my friends and people around me, and over the years become more important the longer I did, and I have better understanding of the whole idea that we have given up our power. We've been industrialized on all levels, and when you have that realization, we feel helpless. My parents left without second thought their way of self-reliant lifestyle, a little mixed farm with, even though it was poverty, with their own efforts, they had some power in their lives. They had it and they didn't know what they were giving up. So what motivates me is working with other people, but it has to have some meaning to it. Like, I might seem harsh on people and hard on people, and I am, and I'm never going to be different because I demand your attention. You know, this isn't something that you might play at. You know, because I don't play at it. You know, I got run over with my horses and smashed up, and I got up and I kept doing it. Yeah. So it's to me, life is do or die, and then you're living. My father, he was a horseman, and helped him when I was like 10 years old and stuff. Learned to drive horses. It is not that I wanted to do it back then, but I learned enough by that observation to be able to do it. I wouldn't call myself a good horseman by any means. I know good horsemen, but I would never say that, hey, I'd be a good guy to teach you how to use horses, because I have my own rudimentary style. For a person to learn horses out of a book is pretty difficult. A lot of people I find that with their first introduction to the horse, they treat it like a machine. Like you say whoa and the brakes are on. With a horse, you have to be polite. You have to ask them. You have to get their willingness and attention. You have to keep even temper. So if you get angry with your horses, you're in trouble. Easy, easy. When I have people that come want to learn something of me, I just come and watch me. I'll show you how I do it. I have demand that people be observant, you know, to actually explain stuff to people. I have a hard time with that. If you're in the field and doing things a certain way, I'll show you how I do it, and then I'll see how you get it. Yeah. If I need milk or somebody in my household needs milk, then I'll separate one of the calves from the cows, and we'll have all the milk we want. When I milk a cow, the first thing I do is I immerse the milk in cold water and cool the milk, and then I keep it, and we use the milk as soon as possible, and you turn it into yogurt, and then sometimes we turn it into cheese. Working from the heart and working with a sense of freedom is, you have to have the discipline to get up in the morning. You have to be courageous, and you have to put up with discomfort and all this stuff. And then you have to see what you're doing as being fairly important. Maybe a part of your survival, and then you can do what I do. Yeah. We have lost that concept of manhood and growing up and all that somehow, you know. At one time it was a young fella go to sea because he couldn't get along with his father, for instance. And that's natural. That's natural to be forced out of the nest, just like the grizzly bear beats up her cubs to send them away, you know, give them a good beating, and then he won't follow her around anymore, you know. And our nature is the same, to be ousted out of the nest at a certain, but with all the infrastructure and all the industrial whatever makes us so that we don't have to grow up. We don't have to go it on our own and whatever. You might think that I spend a lot of time on my own, but I don't. Most of my connection with people is through the stuff I do. Probably another reason why I'm not fond of machinery and tractors and so on, because it cuts out your communication with people. It dehumanizes the whole thing, and I think that's what's wrong with one of the things wrong with industrial agriculture is It's a lonely life. You have all the machinery you need to do everything. What industrial farming has done to people and made them so dependent, like people today that they don't know why they're alive. I was in Mexico like in the 1960s, and up in the mountains was lots of people and lots of little plots of land and gardens, and you see people coming down with their loads of stuff for the market. And today it's all industrialized, pretty much. So all the people are gone. They're gone to Mexico City to work in plastic factories, and that's supposed to be an improvement, And I think that's the biggest human tragedy myself, because it leaves people helpless. When I think of home, I think of the little thatched house I was born in the west of Ireland. I felt like a drifter, a traveller. I travelled a lot around BC, and I worked for a hay rancher up there. That's where I first used horses, and it just brought me back to my childhood when I was herding cows for an old lady in my neighbourhood. And for me it was lonely because I was away from my brothers and sisters. I'd rather be playing and doing other stuff. I remember thinking, when I grow up, I'm never going to do this. And a lot of people felt like that about that. And I can remember when people heard of people immigrating to New York, for instance, from the west of Ireland, and going there, and they could, work like 5 or 6 days a week and have vacations. We didn't quite know what vacation meant, because people with small farms and cattle and all this stuff going on all the time couldn't even, have that idea. They couldn't travel. They didn't have the affluence, they didn't have the money, so it was poverty along with that simple lifestyle. When we depend on an industrial system for our survival, we might protest all that and think that we're defeated and so on, but if we want to get our power back and be able to do things for ourselves and not pay other people to live our lives for us, we have to be devoted. So when you have that experience and you decide you want to get away from it, there was a few events in my life happened to make me realize, hey, that was a good life. And now that I appreciate that I had them experiences, because they give me endurance for what I do. Somewhere in your life you got to make your stand. And before I come here, I was a traveler. I didn't feel at home. I didn't feel like. But when I come up here and I watch the sun rising and setting around Willett in the wintertime, where it comes up and then goes behind the other peak and then comes up again, I all of a sudden I got in touch with the movements of the stars and the moon in out of one place, and it oriented me towards this place. Even though it took me a long time to really feel at home here because of the sort of tenure I had, because I didn't want to get too attached to the place. I didn't know who was going to, how it was going to go. I never did. I still don't. But I feel more comfortable now that at this age in my life that I'm not so concerned about the outcome.
Have no fear for when I'm alone. I'll be better off than I was before. I've got this life. I'll be around to grow who I was before. I cannot recall long nights allow me to feel I'm falling. I am falling, the lights go out. Let me feel I'm falling. I am falling safely to the